What's up? I'm JL.
Yo, my name is Lyrics, and we are the Year of the Ox. And you tuned in to Nebula Music Podcast, baby.
That is beautiful. Holy shit, you guys are dope, man. All right, what is up, everybody? Eddie Barco here once again, and I want to welcome you to the Nebula Music Podcast. If this is your first time joining us on this show, this is a podcast where we talk to some of today's most inspiring and coolest musicians, artists, entrepreneurs, anyone who's doing something really cool in the music industry. We have them on the show to explore their mindset just a little bit, just to see if we can pick their brain and learn something new and hopefully get inspired to do some other cool stuff. Today, I'm very excited because I have not one, but two very talented artists who are a duo, and they've done some pretty cool stuff. They've been around for a little bit and have done some very revolutionary things. And I am beyond honored to get the opportunity to pick their brain, even just for a couple of minutes, to understand a little bit about their background, what inspires them, and just, I don't know, hopefully learn something brand new. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. JL and Rick of Year of the Ox on the show. How you guys doing, man?
What's up, Eddie? Thank you for that spectacular intro over there, baby.
Quite an intro. Thank you.
The Yox here.
The intro is well deserved because you guys are absolutely phenomenal. You guys are in hip hop. You guys have amazing flow together. There's so much that I want to uncover today if we possibly can. But before we dive into any of that, I have been taking the moment just to ask all the guests how they've been handling this past year. It has been a very bizarre year for musicians specifically. Many people have been okay. Some people have been struggling a little bit. I'm just in general overall, mentally and physically, how have you two been holding up this past year?
I mean, I've been pretty all right. I realize that I'm more of an introvert, and I like staying home, and I like my privacy and all. No, but I mean, overall, I picked up a few new hobbies, and you know, I've been trying to stay healthy and work on music. So
it's been a pivot change for a lot of artists, you know, with everything happening and just the closure of everything. It just it allowed us to kind of reflect, and you either go two ways. One is just completely let yourself go, or really, you know, get better in every aspect of life. You know what I mean? Whether it's health, mental health, just picking up new things. JL started producing a lot. You know, we started playing Call of Duty a lot. It's like Call of Duty is a good teamwork building game, man. You know?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah, we try to have a little Verdansk time. I'm pissed because I missed a nuke event, but and I started streaming as well. You know, to stay connected with the audience and all that. But it's been good, man. We've been living together. It was, the good thing is we have time to just work on ourselves and work on new music and just storing shit up. You know, it's the Year of the Ox, baby.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love your vibe, by the way. You guys are absolutely aggressive, and both of you together, I can definitely see the dynamic differences between you two, but together, I imagine you guys are a force to be reckoned with. Really funny thing, you bring up Call of Duty. I don't know why that reminds me of The Office. Do you guys ever watch that show? The American version?
I actually rewatched it during the pandemic again, like all 9 seasons. So
you mean when they start playing the game in the office?
Yeah. The World War II version back in the days, dude. That's awesome that you got into that. Just because for me, I've been a gamer my whole life, and it's a huge stress reliever when I'm not doing music or other things. If you just get to sit down and play with either your friends or online buddies, you could just get a lot of aggression out. And Call of Duty is a really good one for that. I'm curious for you, JL, the guy on the right. You said you got into some different hobbies other than producing. What have you been working on? If you don't mind me chiming in a little bit on that.
As far as a hobby, I actually picked up tennis again. I recently bought like a cheap racket, and me and my girl, we've been hitting the courts up. And then I got my boy, our homie that's a DJ named Zoe. I got him to come join in. So I've been trying to do that, you know. And then the producing thing is mostly what I've been doing, you know, mostly try to get at least like a beat or two in a day and just work on that and learn new things and whatnot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Your knees haven't given out yet? Because my knees are starting to give out a little bit.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I just started playing tennis like a month ago, so I haven't like gone too hard on it. I've been trying to stretch every time too, just to be careful.
Yeah. And Rick, for you, you said you were building up some things. Both of you guys were building up on music. Did you pick up any new hobbies, anything else other than Call of Duty?
Yeah, you know, I've been a gamer too, an avid gamer all my life.
Hell yeah.
I was never really shying away from it. I was always proud of being a gamer, but now I've joined a Twitch community and started my own stream. So
Hell yeah.
I do weekly streams, but my streams aren't like the typical, playing Among Us and Call of Duty for 5 hours. It used to be like that, but now I try to produce like a little mini show weekly, So a chef comes in and he cooks like an extravagant meal for us. We have a mukbang where we eat together and break bread. I get drunk 90% of the streams, but it's kind of like the Drink Champs with Nori. Like the visions get lost, man. It gets more interesting. I start singing in auto-tune for 30 minutes. Jail, he probably hates it, but it's a good way to just stay connected with the fans and just, stay on your feet. It's like I'm broadcasting my own little show. So it's really fun. You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of it all. I think that's the way to do it, is you have to do it somewhat different. Like, I'm not a streamer myself, but I'm keen to that world because I did grow up with the whole gaming thing. I was a huge RPG player back in my day. Now I'm more into like competitive shooters like Rainbow Six Siege and stuff like that, just because that's all the time I have to play. But it is beautiful when you can find the time to make something different, and streaming good for you too. Cool. I'm glad that you guys have had time to do some cool things. It seems like no matter what the quarantine threw at you, you just got busy and you did stuff, and that's probably the best way to do it. So kind of transitioning a little bit away from that, I want to introduce you to my audience, because I got introduced to your music not that long ago, and I was immediately blown away by how good you two are. Now, by me just saying that you're in hip hop, that's such an understatement, because there's so much that you guys do. But rather than me describing it, I would much rather you two describe what you do, describe maybe a little bit of your backstory, how you two met up, how you started doing music, and all of that.
Jail and I, we were friends for over 15 years. That's a brother of mine. And we've both came from Virginia, very far from California. He's from the beach area in Virginia, which is 4 hours away from me. I'm from the northern tip towards DC. We met through a mutual friend named Manifest. We had an original rap group called The Beautiful Cycle over there on the East Coast.
Nice.
And him and I, we're like, he's like the brother that I never had. You know what I mean? Like, we have a contrast. We have a very yin and yang situation going on. We're very different personalities, different kind of styles. But when we get together as Ox, I think every iconic duo always has that contrast, whether it's a Big Boy and, Andre, even Red Meth, like everyone has that contrast in personalities and character. And I think that kind of shines in the music as well. You know what I mean? Just our approach and things and how we sound, all that. So I think with Ox, we came together when we made the song called Seven Rings in New York. And when that blew up on Team Backpack and we got the recognition and it started catching fire, we just sat down and we were like, you know what? Let's create a duo, man. Let's do a team effort. And that's how Yox was formed, man.
Yeah. Was there no plan for that song? Because, by the way, guys, Seven Rings is on Spotify. You guys can check it out. It's insane how good the flow. I mean, the sound is fantastic, but the minute that you guys start rapping, I'm not sure who starts rapping first, but, immediately it's just very apparent how aggressive and how good it was. What are you telling me, that there wasn't like a specific plan? You guys just made it and put it out there, and then it just happened to be successful?
At that time, I was actually, my father owns clothing stores in Virginia Beach, like urban clothing stores, like, you know what I mean? And so I had opened my store up myself, but Rick moved to New York at that time. And I decided to visit him, and, I ended up staying out there a couple of weeks, 2 months. And, that's just one of the songs that we kind of put together. Not like we didn't say we're going to be a duo and we planned all that out, but, we found the beat, we just put it out there. I think we made the video a couple months before Team Backpack initially picked it up. And then, from there.
I think at that time we were in a transitional period, man. It was, I'm not going to say dark time, but, when you get to a certain age and you're Asian American, you're like, all right. Your parents are on your ass, like, well, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Okay, I know you're traveling and doing shows here and there, but we didn't really catch fire at that time. We were still, it was kind of like a plateau situation. It was seasoned, you know what I mean?
Well, he had already, had been signed to a label. He had a viral video, way back before even viral videos were a thing. You know what I mean? So but we coming together at that age, at that point in time, I didn't graduate college. That's where I met him, was when I was in Northern Virginia for college. And I ended up meeting him, and he was actually, initially my mentor, who kind of taught me the ropes on certain things. And, that ended up turning into me going back home, and then him moving to New York, and then we met there again, and then decided to start making some tracks together.
It's like a Korean soap. It's like a Korean drama over here.
Yeah.
Like, coming from Virginia, it's very static when it comes to the art scene, like the music scene. I'm not saying there isn't a music scene, but it's so corporate based and everyone is climbing that corporate ladder over there that.
Especially the Korean American.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're not a doctor, lawyer, or graphic designer over there, you're fucked,
Damn, dude.
So I had to move out. I'm such a purist in the hip hop world. I'm like, yo, I got to go to the Mecca. I got to go to New York. It's all or nothing. I'm going to go all in right now. And I moved out there and, JL too, just for his form of escape, just to leave, Virginia once in a while. He would come to Queens and just, record with me. And at that time, I was so boom bap heavy and centered on that. He was like, nah, I found this beat. Let's record. At first, I was like, I don't know, man. It's not my style. This is not my forte. And, it became one of the biggest songs that we did. So honestly, that was Jay. That was Jay's idea for Seven Rings. And then, Phil Cho, shout out No Ledge. We went to Paterson, New Jersey. Broke into we broke into some
like an abandoned
stadium or something on some guerrilla warfare shit. And there was a waterfall. I think we crashed the quinceañera.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, if you look closely, there's a couple scenes with these dancers in it that came out of nowhere. Crazy outfits.
But classics. I'm honored and flattered that you considered it a classic, or it's one of those songs. But you never really planned for those things. You know what I mean? It organically happened. We were hungry. We felt like we had something, and we were blessed to have a great videographer. So we're like, yo, let's run with it. Let's make something crazy. We wanted something to, when we drop it, we wanted people to listen and be like, okay, these guys are, it solidifies something in their mind. Like, okay, these guys are authentic. And that's what we went for.
I love that you have this, the common theme that I'm kind of getting from your story a little bit, and I could be wrong, but there's this genuine desire to be authentic, and I imagine, full disclaimer, I'm Hispanic, I'm Guatemalan from descent. I'm born here, but my parents are from Guatemala. And so there's a lot of, things you have to learn on the fly when you're, in America and stuff, and trying to kind of also balance your culture with what's accepted and stuff. And I don't know a lot about Asian culture, but my girlfriend is Japanese, or half Japanese rather. Wow. And you know what's funny? Random side story, but she's from West Virginia. She's from Virginia too, from Virginia Beach. Okay. Yesterday, we were on Google Earth yesterday, looking at where her little old neighborhood off of Pacific Boulevard. I don't know that city very well.
Right on the beach.
Yeah, so you guys might have been neighbors for all I know, but she was very close to the beach. It's the fucking craziest thing. But what's interesting is her family's military, right? So that I know that area is very military town. But she also pursues music and that sort of thing. Were your family's military at all? And I imagine that it is, like you mentioned, it was corporate. And so that world, especially when you come from different cultures, like my family specifically, they're very aggressive of me becoming a lawyer or a doctor. So I imagine for your culture, it might have been the same thing too. I'm just wondering, in your family, was it military, or was it very much like they very much wanted you to go that traditional route, like be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a businessman?
Our parents were both, just immigrants. Mine wasn't any military ties. They just came over.
Every Korean dad's military, though. You know what I mean?
They all went to the mill. My dad went to the Marines. I think your dad too, right?
Yeah.
So
definitely we had that upright, just very, I would say, conservative upbringing. You know what I mean? Anyone that moves to Virginia, they know they came because of the academics. They were thinking about our future. Working at the dry cleaners, working at the store. Definitely they sacrificed a lot. So when we see that and we witness what they've done for us as immigrants, we treat this with a little more respect, you know what I'm saying? And it's not taken away from anybody who is, there's other people, other types of artists that the authenticity is not the recipe. And that's cool too. I would want to do that. I just don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? I look stupid when I try to do anything outside of, doing something with a little sustenance. You feel me?
Yeah. You're just doing you though. You're just doing you.
I'm just doing me, and my audience knows when I try to do something where I try to be a little out of character, they're like, Rick, chill, stop it. Stop it, man. 2 left feet over here. But nah, it's our family has a huge part of, just how we approach the game and everything that we do as Yaks, for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you're saying, because if I'm understanding you correctly, you did mention how there is this authenticity that you're going after, but you also understand that there is this level of respect that both of you have for your family, that a lot of people of minorities, I would imagine almost all of us, have this level of respect for those that came before us, because it was harder back in the days, you know, coming here or whatever, you know, whatever the backstory is, it's definitely a lot harder. And sometimes there is this pressure to not to necessarily carry that legacy, but to pay homage to that legacy, you know. And it's interesting for me that in your music, you mentioned, or you briefly mentioned, how you do have this sort of understanding that you got to respect that effort that was given forward for you. Do you feel like there was ever any conflict when you wanted to start making music? Did you ever have a moment where you needed to decide, do I go this traditional route or do I follow my heart? Because it's hard. And I feel like, with Asian Americans, and I could be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like it's a little harder than with, say, like Hispanics. Hispanics tend to be a little bit more in the middle. We can kind of, I'm not saying we can do whatever we want, but, you know, it's a little bit less strict from what I understand. But, you know, when you come from Asian descent, which I'm hoping you can educate me with, I imagine that it's a little more, you got to really know what you're doing if you're going to choose to go the artist route. Is that wrong in me assuming that, or is it a little bit more different?
That's absolutely right. I mean, being Korean American, being immigrants coming here, I feel like with the Latinos, like you guys had generations that were already living in America. So, you know, you had the acclimation, you had that adaptation period, you know what I'm saying?
For us, practically neighbors too. We're practically neighbors, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But like Koreans and, you know, just all Asian Americans, our childhood was consisted of like adapting, you know, like our parents, they didn't have the security or the pleasure of kind of like, you know, trying the artistic route. We were trying to survive, you know what I'm saying? And therefore, when they're working and toiling every day and they want us to go to school, it's not because they want you know, us to become doctors because that's what they want. They want careers that's going to like set up the next generation. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how they're looking at it. So when they see us doing music, they're like, yo, we came to America so you could rap on DJ Premier beats. What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? That's the beauty thing.
Being a first generation, I feel like, which, you know, I feel like that holds a lot of weight, and we do take that very seriously because we are the ones who will carry on this legacy or tradition. Because if we don't do it, then, you know, it dies with us, basically.
Yeah.
Because our parents, you know, they didn't speak English very well. So a lot of the times, like, you know, we were translating for them on certain situations. So that made us kind of grow up a little quicker, too, in certain aspects, I feel like. But as far as music goes, you know, my parents were very supportive in that because they did put me in. My father is actually, he was a Taekwondo master. So when you talk about strict, like, it wasn't like crazy strict like that, but he was very disciplined. But at the same time, he did understand the arts and stuff. So he was very, you know, uplifting there and encouraging there as well.
It is a martial art, huh? It is. He was an artist. Yeah. Nah, for sure. You're breaking boards and all that. Nah, but you know, like our upbringing, like you said, the whole thing, the balance that we're trying to get is we don't want to neglect our culture and our upbringing, our tradition, but we don't also want to make it a gimmick as well. You know what I mean? We have to, like you said, we just have to do us and stay in our lane, you know, reminding our parents once in a while that we love them and respect them. And we do this for a bigger reason than just to, you know, make a name for ourselves. It's not just for the self-glory. We really believe in the message. And like, we want this message to resonate to other Asian American brothers out there that are, you know, growing up, that are looking for, you know, just someone they could relate to. Like, I'm a creative person. Like, I don't feel like the doctor, lawyer, business route is not for me. You know, I don't think I belong in a cubicle. I belong in a studio.
Right. We didn't have
people to look up like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Guys like the Jins and like, you know, certain, like, every now and then
the Bobby Lees, but, you know, Margaret Cho's, but we know it's bigger than us now. You know, we didn't want to become like the frontline spokesperson for all Asian Americans. Like, yeah, man, we're examples. But as you get older and your microphones get bigger and you have a larger crowd and, you know, a platform, you're kind of obligated to speak on it a little bit, you know? So we don't shy away from it. We're proud of it. And that's why we're Yaks, man.
Yeah. And you know what? I am so fired up with everything that you're saying because it's absolutely true. And I am so happy for you too that you understand that at such a deep level because I mean, just the intricacy of this story. I mean, this is not taking away from any other minority. And obviously, there's a lot of deep topics we can explore here. And I don't want to get too far deep into it, unless you guys want to. But like, you know, when it comes to a lot of like the struggles that people have, like you mentioned, there are certain people, like my generations have been here for a little while, right? Although my parents did immigrate here, but yeah, Hispanics have been here for a little while. But the interesting aspect of it when it comes to music, I think when you ask the average person what they think of Asian American music, there aren't a lot of examples that I feel like most people can think of the top of their head. You know, Latin America is blessed with tons of music that's been around for a very long time, and it crosses over a lot into the U.S. market. Even European music too, you can even classify that. But when it comes to Asian American music, I myself can't think of a lot of examples other than like what I learned in school as like super, super traditional Asian music, which is diverse in its own right.
Right.
I guess where I'm curious is you two found a way to work together, but you did start mentioning how there wasn't a lot of things to go off, but you knew that you wanted to do your style. You ventured into hip hop. How did you, I guess the better question is, what did you use for inspiration then? I imagine some of the existing artists, but how did you use your own inspiration? And was there ever any pressure to like, I gotta somehow, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, I gotta somehow represent some of these Asian roots. I don't know. I don't know where I'm even going with this, but I'm curious about that.
I think a lot of my jetpack fuel came from the doubt that other people had. You know what I mean? Like coming from Virginia, even starting from my parents, just like, yo, this is just a phase, snap out of it. Every time I put the mattress against the door so I could make a little soundproof studio, my mom would be on the other side of the door like, stop doing the satanic music. You know what I mean? Stop.
Yes.
Yo, what are you doing? Stop. Don't bring this into my house.
Stop worshiping Satan in there.
Yeah. I would, I would steal her pantyhose so I could stretch out the stocking to make pop filters for the microphone and all that. You know, like I was rebellious from the jump because they were telling me, Rick, you should study, you should do this. They made me study for the SATs in 4th grade, man. You know, my dad was giving me 10 vocabulary words a day, just remember, like he was on that tip. He didn't realize that, you know, it should be a gradual thing. But, you know, just having my parents, having people in Virginia saying, I don't know about this, like that kind of fueled me. And I wanted to prove them wrong. You know, coming from the battle rap circuit, that's how I started off. Like my mentality still to this day is like trying to prove myself. You know, that was the inspiration, to be honest with you. Of course, listening to music, Eminem being white and then, you know, infiltrating a predominant Black music genre and killing it. Jin signing the Rough Riders and putting the necklace in his mouth, destroying people for 7 weeks straight on 106 and Park. Like definitely seeing people that look like me killing it was huge inspiration. But coming from Virginia, man, like we had to find inspiration from within. It wasn't something, there wasn't a scene where I was like rubbing off. It was something that had to come from within. You know what I mean?
I honestly just wanted to look cool.
That's why we do it. That's why we do it, man.
I wanted to look cool, get girls, and make money and party. Everything he said as well, obviously. But yeah, you know, as Asians, like we said, there's not many people to look up to that look like us in our industry. But, you know, once we started to get some kind of hype and like I saw that we had this opportunity, like I took, you know, I really wanted to take advantage of it and really make something of ourselves and really inspire, like he said, like people younger than us, even generations, you know, that come after us, hopefully to have them inspired to make music too.
Yeah, yo, Eddie, to be honest with you, when we first started, we knew that we had shit to say. You know what I mean? Like I wrote a lot. We had things, we inspired each other as well, you know, just coming together, slowly seeing the progression, the development of the following. Like before we paid for our own gas and asked people if we could perform, you know, but then when that flipped and then we started getting paid and they paid for our gas money, we're like, okay, level 1 complete, you know, we started seeing checkpoints. And then when those trips became longer than van trips, where we had to get plane trips, I'm like, okay, level 2 complete. And then when we go to New York and we have non-Koreans recognizing us, like, yo, you lyrics, and we go to a random McDonald's and they're like, yo, 7 Rings was tight. I'm like, level 3, 4 complete. It's just the gradual growth, man, you know? And now we're inspired to really take the business side of it serious too, you know, and trying to, you know, diversify our bonds. When I see brothers like Dumbfounded, when I see my bro like Anderson .Paak, you know, he was the homie, and seeing him, my girlfriend, not my girlfriend, my friend, Nora Aquafina, just her meteoric rise, like that shit's so inspirational now. Now it's not about, you know, proving myself or proving to other people that we could do it. Now it's like, okay, now that you know we can do it, how far can we stretch this? You know what I mean? That's the next inspiration now.
Yeah, see, that's that fire right there. That's what gets you to that next level right there. I'm curious, backtracking just like a second, what were some of the things that you felt like you wanted to say when you first started? Because that's always interesting to me to see the progression of an artist from when they first start versus, you know, where they're currently at or where they end up. Vastly different. And the hope is that there is this natural, beautiful evolution because of the interesting background that you both have. I imagine what you had to say was diverse. I don't know, but I'm curious, at that time, what were some of the things that really were motivating you and you were using in a lot of your rhymes and music and stuff?
Right. You
murder and mayhem for me.
Yeah, murder and mayhem.
I don't know what it was. It was like I maybe wrote like a verse that I kind of was very like, you know, aggressive on, and then people kind of liked that, so I kind of took that role and really just ran with it. And
one of the first verses, one of the first lines I heard him say is, "First things first, I'm the worst. And I'm cursed."
I'm the worst, and I'm cursed.
I'm cursed.
Yeah.
He did an album called Murder Town with JL in the middle with blood splattered all over it. He was, you know, I wouldn't say it was horrorcore rap, but definitely he was like, he's the Tommy guy. Like
shady, dude. Like, you know, some kind of like, I wanted some kind of like alter ego, maniacal.
Yeah.
Are all introverts like super aggressive?
I think so. I was gonna say that, man. I was gonna say that.
I'm a Gemini too. So.
Oh shit! I'm a Scorpio, by the way. Damn.
Oh hell yeah! Okay, Scorpios. We already know, man.
Yeah, but my first album was called Guaranteed Raw. So I was like, yo, I'm just gonna be raw and murder and
right. And I was a Christian rapper.
Holy shit, this just got interesting. What the fuck?
I mean, the thing with me is like,
I'm gonna get a drink.
Yeah. I always wrote about what I knew. You know what I mean? I always wrote about, I feel like an artist is the most powerful when he has authority in what he's saying. You know what I mean? Instead of just saying whatever. And at that time, like I was really, you know, my faith, it's kind of like when you go to like a retreat, you come back and your heart's on fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your heart's on fire and you want to represent, you want to, you know, bring the glory, you want to share the glory. So definitely I started off with the church circuit, you know, Manifest and I. The beautiful cycle actually stands for God's gift to us. I mean, our talent is God's gift to us, and what we do with that talent is our gift back to Him. You know, so it kind of goes back to
the circle, yeah.
from Him to us, back to Him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, and as I grew older and just matured as an artist, I realized that even now with Year of the Ox, you know, we were over there like doing prayer circles, and now this is our sign. You know what I mean? A lot of people are confused right now. But
I love that.
I rap about the truth though, you know. I'm as a believer doesn't mean we're perfect. You know, we still have lust, we still have anger, we have rage. On a Monday, I could love God. On Tuesday, Thursday, I want to denounce him. You know, it's the real human struggle of living with faith. And I felt like being a Christian rapper was kind of limiting. It was like boxing me in, and I couldn't really say everything because when you're in that role, you have a target on your head. You know what I mean? If you say something wrong or you act a certain way, like I went through that already, you know, that blemish. I went through losing a lot of my fans because I decided to be honest, you know, and talk about my struggles in a more like, you know, not so church way. And, you know, I was refined through fire, and being with JL and having this counterpart, I could still talk about God. I could still talk about faith, but in a way where it doesn't just like, it's not so cringy from the jump. You know what I'm talking about? It's a mission statement of mine, definitely. But I'm glad that you asked it like that. Things do change, you know, and the things that we rap about. I always rapped about how sick I am, how good I am. I always rapped about the fear of the Lord and the struggles of faith. You know what I mean? Yeah. So those three things definitely is a trifecta behind lyrics is, you know, writing.
Yeah. God, there's so much fucking cool shit here to unpack. God damn, you guys are fucking dope. I love it. JL, are you not a religious person at all?
No, I grew up in church all my life. Went to Sunday school, on to youth ministries, and like I haven't gone to too many church services recently, but I'm definitely still a believer.
Yeah, he's just not as outwardly as and that's another thing. I feel like sometimes that's more genuine. Like people who go to who are like believers, the ones that are kind of like out there and just like proclaiming it all the time. I feel like sometimes, that's kind of, it takes the authenticity away a little bit. Like, with JL, just keeping it to himself and, going through his faith and going through his struggles, like some things don't have to be shared all the time. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of being in a duo, because I'll do that for him. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll be out there screaming Jesus and he could talk about cutting a head off. And isn't that human? Isn't that as human as it gets? You know what I mean?
I mean, Mr. Introvert here, super aggressive, I love that, I don't know, you're so genuine with who you are, both of you. It's kind of beautiful. Full disclaimer, I actually grew up Christian too. I think a lot of us did. I think it's safe to say most of us did grow up Christian. Right. A fun little fact, I actually have a degree in theology, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I rarely ever talk about it. It's a very interesting story. But, from a very young age, I grew up in a very strict religious environment. Like Hispanics, I imagine just like Asian people too. Yeah, they can be incredibly fucking devout. And so my family was like insanely devout. So we like did it all like growing up, especially like with worship music and that kind of thing.
Right.
And from a very young age, I developed this sort of, not skepticism. I don't want to say that, but I was always a deep thinker. I would always ask questions. And because I was constantly put into everything you could imagine as a kid, I kind of got a first glance at what things were. Anyways, my point being is there is this interesting relationship between music and religion, whether it's Christianity or whatever, but Christianity is predominant in America, so that's why it's very relevant. What's fascinating to me is that you, Rick, and both of you figured it out from a very young, I don't want to say even young age, because we're all old as fuck here. But like the idea is that you did find this sweet balance of being able to speak what's in your heart. And you had the audacity to like say, hey, I got to say what I got to say. I'm not denouncing what I believe in, and whatever happens, happens. That's incredibly hard to do. And I feel like that's something that unless you've been through that motion, most people won't ever experience something like that. Right. If that makes sense.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like, the way they one of my mentors told me that true evangelism and true gospel requires no words. It's just actions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And coming, from that devout family upbringing with church, I also saw the two face of it. I will use the word skepticism because there are theatrics to it too, especially a Korean church. Like there's a lot of gossiping going on. There's a lot of judging going on, a lot of higher pedestal looking down. My father and my mother, like I've seen them now, they're true devout Christians that have personal relationships with the Lord. But before they were just going to save face. You know what I mean? My dad would be drunk as shit on a Saturday night because he's stressed from the dry cleaner. Sometimes, my parents would get in physical arguments. You know what I mean? And then I see my mom applying foundation to cover the marks to go to church and smile at other people. I see the two-face in it. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I told myself, like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to ever like try to apply spiritual cosmetics on myself to like appear holier than I am and all that. I always wanted to be honest with it. I think Christians would have a better name if they admitted that, they fuck up sometimes. Like,
yeah, we all fucking do.
Yeah. If they were just a little bit more truthful and honest and kind of transparent in their ways, I feel like we would have a better, more effective evangelism. But I think that's what the Yaks does, man. Like, we don't want to be known as the religious group or like, oh yeah, that one Christian rapper who's now, I just want to represent like, the struggles of being a man living in this godless world that's still trying to live by faith, And so when I throw the horns out, when I do these things, I don't want you guys to get confused. Like, yo, he's repping both sides. I'm not, I'm just being honest and letting you know that, it's a struggle every day, That's just pretty much all it is.
Rick has an interesting story because, like he said, he started off as kind of a Christian rapper. So having that like labeled on you,
yeah,
and then at the age that he was at, everyone's looking at him at parties and stuff. He's like, yo, he's a Christian rapper. Why is he at this party?
Yeah.
Why is he drinking? Why is he smoking weed and shit? You know what I mean? So I think he had a struggle with that duality very early.
For sure.
On, so.
My biggest fear when I was growing up, being that rapper, it was the fear of someone finding out that I wasn't as, perfect. It's kind of like, when you see your praise leader smoking a cigarette, like you're not disappointed. You hate that motherfucker. He takes you to such a sacred, holy spot. And then you see him do something that's worldly. You have disdain towards this person. And that happened to me. My worst fear became a reality. My inbox was filled with people just like, yo, you're the devil, all these things. I went through that fire. And what I realized was, do I continue pretending like I'm this person when I'm not and end up killing myself in the future? Or do I completely reset everything and, take come what may and just be as honest and as transparent as possible starting now? And I made that decision and I haven't looked back since. And I think God blessed me for that. You know what I mean? I think I have a deeper relationship with God because I'm actually being honest with myself now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's beautiful. You know what's interesting? I know that the vast majority of people that listen to this show, it isn't a religious podcast whatsoever. We just try our best to dive as deep as possible on whatever topics. And
you said deep, so we going in, baby.
Let's go in. Here's the reality. Like the one thing I discovered in my own career, in my own path, first and foremost, like I'm still definitely a Christian believer. I have ventured into so many different other thought practices that I feel like the more I learn, the more I realize the little I know. But I know certain things inside of me, and they're for me. I don't have any inclination to force people to believe what I believe in. But I just love learning different things. But one thing that was a bit of a shock to me when I finally ventured off into adulthood, let's put it like that. I was constantly raised to believe that we were persecuted, so to speak. And I think that a lot of people nowadays see this a lot on the news. They see it in reference when people act out, when you see people are acting, let's just say it. There's a lot of people who are acting racist who, align themselves with the Christian faith. And there's this sort of morality to it, right? And I remember one of the shocking experiences to me was going on to the real world and figuring it out very quickly that first of all, no one cared that I was Christian. And B, no one was out to prove me wrong. Right. I was the one who was preemptively attacking others, being like, this is all God is real, blah, 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 blah. And I realized no one gave a shit. And it was a rude awakening that, number one, there's a lot of Christian people out there in the music industry, but two, no one cares if you sing about God or not. They just want to hear some good music. And it's interesting that the judgment, like we've been talking about, a lot of the judgment and disagreement comes from your own community that you come from, which is Christianity. It's fucking fascinating. And I'm wondering, you just sort of mentioned that a little bit earlier, but did you ever experience that dramatically? The minute you started being who you knew you were, the minute you let go of your expectations and you were like, this is me, this is what I got to say. What were the vast differences that you started noticing from both non-Christians and your community that you came from? That's something I'm curious about.
I feel like after that transformation, the ones that stuck with me and still supported me and messaged me like, hey, thanks for being honest. I really understand where you're coming from. Those are the real fans. Those are the real supporters. The ones that look at me now, it's like, I can't even listen to you anymore. It's like, dude, I didn't want your support from the beginning anyway. I really used this new transformation as a sifting process of the ones that really were down for me, because I even when I made Christian music back in the day, I never rapped for the people in the front row, the goody two shoes. I rap for the people that are still on MDMA in the back row. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That got dragged out to church. The ones that are still sweating from the drugs from last night. I was always talking to the black sheep of the people, and when I did make that change and the fans they followed with me or you know what it is? Now that years have passed, the people that shunned me, the people that cursed me through hate mail, they actually hit me back now that they're a little older. When you're younger, you're on that soldier for God shit. You're it's either right or wrong. They don't know that they only see absolute value. They don't realize there's a gray. They don't realize that outside their bubble, in reality, life is a lot more, complicated than you think it is. It's not just sinning and not sinning. There is that middle. And they do come back and they're like, Rick, oh my God, I listened to your stuff again. And I'm so sorry I said that. I live for that. That's beautiful. That's ministry to me. The fact that we could be honest with each other and come back and, you know, retract what you said, because through growth, people change, our minds change, our faith changes. But I just want to be consistent. Everything that I write and put out there, I want it to be archivable. I want people to listen to it 15 years down the line and be like, oh shit, he didn't really switch up. Like, he really meant what he was talking about. And, you know, I'm looking at legacy longevity right now. I'm not thinking about, yo, let's make a hit this week, you know, and sometimes that could be my Achilles, because you just need to put stuff out. But, you know, I want to make epic shit that's going to, you know, stand the test of time, bro. So, yeah, to answer your question, it was a great sifting process. And the thing that changed dramatically was the love that the people had for me, for making that hard decision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. JL, did you notice anything as well in your own perspective, or was it mostly fairly gradual for you in terms of when you came to terms with what you two were doing and you decided to work together? This is just a fascinating, you know, topic for me, because I do feel like it's not many people talk about it, but I do feel like it can affect your life and how you pursue art. I don't know, for you, it's okay if you didn't, but I'm just wondering, like, did you also see this polar opposite reaction to what you two were doing when you finally embraced that identity that you currently have versus where you were before?
I mean, I didn't really, the thing is, I got into the music kind of late. I got into it like my freshman year of college. So like, and at that point I hadn't really made too much of an identity besides, you know, graduating from high school. And I you know, used to fight with my friends and, you know, on whatever. But yeah, besides that
aggressive nature, man, that introvert aggressive nature. I love it.
I'm a very nice guy.
I'm gonna go back over here a little bit.
Yeah, no, like I when it came to my music, I was very upfront from the beginning, I think, and I didn't really have to deal with too much of that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, JL is the equalizer in both senses of the word, like the Denzel Washington movie. And also, like, he just wants to make sure that the bars are nice. You know what I mean? That we sound good, that we look good. Like, he's a realist in that way. You know, I look up to him a lot, because without him, I would just be lost in my tangents, you know, in my theatrics. But he brings me back down to earth, be like, yeah, but is the song good? You know what I mean? Like, stop preaching. Is the song good? So definitely, like, and that's something I realized, man. Like, a quick story. When Seven Rings dropped and the management hit me up and was like, yo, we want to pick you up. I let him know, quite frankly, I'm like, dude, I got to have my man with me. You know what I mean? I got to bring JL with me, because I know my shortcomings. I know what he brings to the table, and I know what I could, you know, enhance for him as well. So it's on some brotherly love shit, man, for real. Like, we're grown men living in a loft together during a quarantine, making rap music. There is not that strong camaraderie anywhere else, man. Like, honestly, this is a very unique relationship, and, you know, I thank God every day for it. You know,
that's the dream, man, is to have that partnership, no matter who it's with. It's like, it can be incredibly rare, and how grateful we have to be for any sort of friendship or partnership that we can score, because I don't know, there's just so much shit out there, but when you find something that works like that, I think it's very beautiful. If you don't mind me asking, and we don't have to venture into this territory, but I'm just genuinely curious. I did sort of briefly mention it a couple minutes ago, but I'm really honestly curious what you think about this. I know lately on the news, maybe not so much like today, but lately on the news, there's just
there were a few today.
Okay. So there's so much aggression that's happening towards, I mean, just minorities in general, but especially Asian Americans. And again, a lot of it has to do with just very bad people. But I also know, and we're not all stupid, there's a lot of people that align themselves to some sort of level of Christianity or of that kind of faith. And they use that, you know, alignment to justify their choices of just doing bad things or saying bad things. And I understand that a lot of those actions come from repressed anger, or, you know, a lot of the feelings towards themselves. But my point being, you two being who you are in the position that you're in, having an audience, having people that respect you, and going through the journey that you've gone through and being in such a good place, does this shake you at all in terms of where you align yourselves in terms of religion, spirituality, culture? Like, how does it make you feel? I guess that's the best question, and I want to know. I mean, you two are of the Asian American community. How does that make you feel when someone proclaims to be of your same faith and then mistreats Asian Americans, you know, plainly? I don't know. I'm wondering.
I mean, I'm gonna turn on the AC because this whole topic got me hot a little bit. I'm gonna let JL speak on it. You did? Okay.
You know what? Like, it's just obviously it angers me and it makes me very worried. You know, especially for our parents, being that they're all back in Virginia. We haven't even been able to visit since the quarantine. So, like, as soon as that came out, all the news of, you know, the attacks of especially elderly Asians and stuff like that, you know, I kind of just really was worried about my parents being in the environment they're in at the stores or in like these malls and like just, you know, a bunch of shady characters around them all the time. Like that was my first initial thought after I was angered to like blood red mad. And then I thought about my parents.
Blood red mad. Yeah, I mean, first 2 points. One, anybody who uses their faith to hurt another being, that's a distorted, skewed vision of that religion. You know what I mean? I don't consider them real Christians. You know what I mean? People who use and you know, this is a whole nother conversation starter because a lot of wars have started because of religion, you know, because of the name of God. You know, we're trying to make a man-made terminology for this entity, and a lot of people want to claim it. I understand that. But I'm talking about if you're going out there hurting a grandmother, something is fucking wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like, and I think maybe, you know, it could be on some, you know, street politics where it's, you know, you need to put a hit in or whatever. Like there could be so many forms of why, but it's just, you know, without getting too complicated, I just don't want to worry about our Asian elderly getting killed. You know what I'm saying? Like yesterday, I think they beat up some lady and killed her cat. God, you know, like, you know, they're killing the pets now. So it's like, you know, with our platform, we spoke on it. You know, we recorded a song called Viral. And then before that, when anything about social injustice, like I said, I rap about what I know and I rap about what I see and how I feel. I think my best music is when it comes from that. You know, when I have a perspective, when I have an opinion on something and I speak on it. We wrote a song called Viral, released it on March 16, 2020. And exactly 365 days later, on the anniversary of Viral, was the shooting in Atlanta, where we lost 8 people, you know? So like when JL and I heard the news, we really looked at each other like, are we helping? Is this even making a dent? Are we making a difference at all? You know what I'm saying? And there was that moment of just kind of like, man, like, if anything, I don't want it to fuel it, you know, like what can we do besides, okay, we rap, but what can we do besides this?
As an artist, I was even fed up with writing about it. Like,
right.
Man, when they were like, yo, let's do a Viral 2 or like something like that. I was like, dude, I don't even want to think about writing about that anymore. Like, why do we have to make songs about this so much?
Right. It's just, you know, it's discouraging as artists when we literally wrote Viral, not because we're like, oh, let's exploit the situation that's going on. It was truly the overflow of our heart, man. You know, I thought about my parents and the inavailability, like we can't even see them or protect them right now, you know? So from the fear of our hearts and just, you know, our heart was groaning for our people, man, for real, you know? And when I say our people, I'm talking about all people. This is not, you know, fucking injustice and suffering. We've all been going through it for a long time. You know, when we make songs about love, we start a war. It's crazy. We made a song called Viral about, hey, let's stop hate. And then you look in the comments and you're like, yeah, fucking stop hate. And they're hating on they're fighting hate with hate. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, there goes my BLM support. Oh, there goes yellow. Like we realize that the message gets diluted and gets lost with the cacophony, man. It's
crazy because I feel like there's been more attacks, or at least more publicized attacks since since Biden got in, or since you know Trump has been gone. I don't know. Maybe it's just 2021, even compared to how crazy 2020 was. Like it's already been like so many attacks and so many shit happening that I don't know.
And the worst part about it is like the street vendors, you know, you mean from, you know what I'm talking about? Like even our Latino brothers, man, the street vendors, the ones that are working every day, toiling, sweating all day just so they can make a few bucks for their family. I could relate so much when they're getting shot in the face. You know what I'm saying? Our grandmothers, my friend's grandmother, who she literally walks 90 degrees crippled, and she's picking up cans from the street all day just so she could get roundhouse kicked in the stomach. It's like, that angers me to the point where like, I want to go out and make a mistake, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those situations, but you know, like, honestly, even with my prayers, I'm asking like, Lord, what's the will? What's the glory in this? What, you know what I mean? What are we trying to get at? And the one thing that I could see is like, we've been subservient. We've been kind of submissive as Asian people, not because we're weak, but because we were taught, especially during this acclimation and adaptation period, like I was telling you about,
right.
We weren't taught to speak up and raise our voice and complain. My parents were just like, no, keep it to yourself, tolerate it. We'll deal with it when we go home. You know what I mean? Little things like that.
Not only that, but media portrayed us in a way that they didn't think they needed to respect us either.
Yeah.
I mean, to some degree.
And, you know, it's crazy. Like, before the Asian hate was happening, before the coronavirus and the xenophobia kicked in, there was something in my mind. I was like, you know, my respect for the Black community is like skyrocketed so much because we couldn't even fathom what that felt like. And I don't appreciate people that try to act like they do. You know what I mean? Like I come humbly and I speak very carefully when I speak on the Black community, because exponentially, like, their struggle, the systemic racism, it's something that honestly, I'm now starting to like fully understand. I always knew it. I always grasped it. But just seeing how much we're inflicted with these few years of this open hate, like, I look at my Black brothers and sisters like, damn, you guys are strong as shit. Like, for you guys to really go through this. And not only it went from the sit-ins, it went to the protests, it went to the marches, to finally taking action and winning now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like really gathering together. And I kind of feel like
it's still not even.
Yeah, of course. It's still ongoing.
It's still getting worse.
Yeah.
Somehow.
But I feel like through persecution, people get stronger. You know what I mean? So as weird and twisted as that sounds, through this dark time, I feel like our Asian brothers and sisters are strengthening up in their way, whether it's speaking up, whether it's working out so they could physically protect themselves, just being more vocal about it, being more like confident in themselves and the way that they handle, like, that leveling up has to happen through the callus, through the pain, through the scars. That's the next level. It's like Pokemon. We're evolving to that now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we love to make soundtracks for that evolution. I think that's what it is. Our album was basically that. Our album was angst. It was love. It was frustration. It was desperation. All the Asians for the Asians.
Yeah, that's a pretty good phrase right there. That's a good phrase.
Yeah.
God damn, dude. You guys are, holy shit. I'm really glad I brought that up, because that is a heavy topic that I don't get the opportunity to talk a lot about on the show.
Right.
You know, my girlfriend being of Japanese descent, you know, I'm kind of calling myself out on this thing too, because I'm Hispanic too. And there is this sort of underlying feeling from a young age. And I don't know who teaches you this. I think it's just something you just pick up as you go along your life. But I do feel like there was this sentiment that there was like hierarchy of suffering when it comes to like the social classes and minorities, you know? And, you know, kudos to the African-American community, because they've just have fought for so long, and they've just really have gone through so much, and they've won some things. But like you mentioned, it seems like it's such an uphill battle. But right. I distinctively remember, excuse me, having conversations with my girlfriend years ago, just about issues that Asian Americans face. And she's fortunate where she looks, you know, mostly Caucasian, but you can see a little bit of the Japanese side. And sorry for saying that, not fortunate, but it's interesting. And like,
no, I know what you mean.
In today's society. But anyways, my point is we've gone through so many experiences. We've had conversations about this. We went to Manzanar, if you know where that's at, out in California. That's one of the concentration camps where they sent Japanese people during World War II.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they have the remnants of it, so you can go visit. And it's such a interesting experience when you're there and you walk through the whole entire camp. You see all the pictures of what it was like 60, 70 years ago. And you're like, holy shit, this was not that long ago, where if you would have been classified as Japanese, that's it. house gone, get on this fucking bus, go live in the desert. And anyways, like there's so many instances, it's heavy as shit, but we talked about it, how like, yeah, you know, like people say this about Asians and no one matters. And she would say like, you know, you're Hispanic and I get it, like immigration and stuff, people judge you for it, but you know, like no one bats an eye when they say something about, you know, a Chinese American or a Japanese American. They're just like, oh, whatever, they can handle it. And it's like, it feels unfair. And now as it's built up, it's interesting how like it's been shoved in my face. And I'm like, I got to grow from this shit. And I think it's interesting what you mentioned earlier about what do we do about this? You know, like, are we making it better? Are we making it worse? I don't think any of us, I mean, me specifically, I don't know what the answer is, but I do feel like with the music that you're putting out, the message that you're putting out, it's part of the solution. You know, even if we can't see the immediate results, talking about it is the major force behind all of this. And that's what I think it's beautiful about conversations like this, is that we got to talk about it at some point. And it's different from just seeing it on TV, because after a while of seeing people getting beat up, it's sad to say, but people get used to it. And you need to be able to have that dialogue of like, look, this is what it makes me feel. Regardless of what you think, I feel this way, you know? And it's just, I don't know. It's fucking insane. It's taken me this long, but I'm glad that I'm learning about it.
Yeah, what you're saying is beautiful. And I echo that, man. It's just, you got to crawl before you walk before you run, you know? And honestly, like both with my music and my, you know, platform and also my ministry, when you evangelize to someone, you don't think that you know, you share a gospel verse, you don't think that they're going to change like this. You know, we're taught that we have to sow seeds, you know, we sow the seed and we walk away, you know, we can't do anything else but that, you know? And so for me, two Asian brothers watching Jin on 106 & Park, that was one of the biggest things that influenced me to be a rapper now. So I'm imagining a Asian kid that was my age then watching Yak speaking on something that a lot of people don't like to talk about. I'm just excited to see what that seed's going to do. You know, that Tupac quote resonates with me. It's like, yo, I may not change the world, but I'm definitely going to inspire the mind that does. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, with us, we're not trying to be out there on some superhero shit. Like we're going to fix everything. But the thing is, there's two choices. And I think history will definitely, what we do now will echo, you know what I'm saying? So we don't want to just be, just stand by, just on the sideline, just commenting on people talking about things that they can't talk about. Like we're there with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
The whole growing process. Yeah.
And what JL's saying is true too. Like there's a point where it becomes redundant, and there's a point where it becomes like, okay, why are we doing this? And after like 3, 4, 5, 6 songs about the struggle, sometimes we gotta let it breathe and go back to the normal scheduled broadcast. You know, just not to normalize it and to avoid it, but because the whole slacktivism and the whole like, okay, let's make a track, let's do a hashtag, let's do a clubhouse room. Like I love the intent, but we have to live life. We have to continue and bring some normalcy back, because if this is a thing, yo, trust me, if we want to whine, we're the best of whiners. You know what I mean? But like, let's bring it back to normalcy, pray, and just, you know, help each other out, protect each other. But we don't always need to be shouting out all the time. I don't think that's really the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a balance. I think it's growing. Growing is more than just pushing all the time. Growing is learning how to listen as well, how to kind of take a moment to take a breath. It's so fucking beautiful, man. You guys are absolutely amazing for being open to talk about this, about your music. I know we just hit the hour mark. Are you guys okay if we go for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Let's go.
Let's do it, because I do think it's a beautiful topic, and it kind of helps me segue into another quick moment before we kind of start to chime things down. But I'm wondering,
we have a call that we need to take in about half an hour. So if that's okay with you,
we'll get you out of here before then. There is one topic I just wanted to ask briefly, and that is, why are Asian Americans so misunderrepresented in hip hop? Because I do feel like we did touch on it a little bit about, you know, not having as many generations here and that sort of thing. But you two, as you guys created your style, you kind of figured it out on your own. You just kind of invented it, took what you could, and now you're here. And now I do feel like there's a new generation rising up using you guys as inspiration. You know, you have Dumbfounded too, who's like doing awesome shit. But I'm wondering, in your opinion, why is the Asian community, when you think of Asian Americans hip hop, to most people, I don't think that those two combine, but they see you and you prove them wrong.
To be honest with you, and not to say you're wrong, but people who don't recognize the Asian American in hip hop history, they don't know their hip hop. That's why. You know what I mean? Like, we were definitely the background, from the Ted Chungs with Snoop, Sophia Chang with Wu-Tang, Miss Info. Like, there's a lot of Asian American history. Ben Baller, you know what I mean? Like, that's been there from the jump as well, but we were never like the performer. I felt like, because we had the business acumen, because we had like the producing mindset, like we weren't represented because they were playing the background, you know what I mean? They were the power figures in the back, but we always had Asian American figures in hip hop history. And
I think it does have to do with our upbringing and having parents that don't really understand that life or see that vision or dream that we see, that, they couldn't even imagine us doing that. We see it as a possibility. We see it as a dream. So, that definitely did take an effect on it, I believe.
And also just the distinct contrast of how hip hop is a very, it started off with a very hyper machismo type of formula. You know what I mean? Very outspoken, coming from the struggle, coming from, kick you in the face with Tim's Onyx style, back the fuck up type shit. But with the Asians, we were just the, oh, yes, like we were the nicer, just a very, I hate saying the word weak because that's not true, but we were just more quiet, docile. We were, and it's oil and water. It didn't mix like that at that time. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a big reason why there wasn't a lot of hip hop Asian American representation in the front line, but when it came to the lyrics, when it came to like the innovative stuff, we have like Mountain Brothers, we even have Smiles and South Star. We have a lot of Asian American history in the hip hop, and that's something we need to be more vocal about. You know what I mean? We have a documentary on Netflix called Bad Rap where we briefly touch base on that. But it's like we need to break that cycle of like, the Asians, we were there too. You know what I'm saying? Similar to the Latino community, we were all there, man.
Yeah. And I do think it's beautiful. Do you feel like that's changing? Do you think that more and more people are starting to open up to that idea and learn about it? Or do you think it's still a bit of a struggle?
No, for sure.
I think the new generation of artists, the younger generation, I think like it's not even a real issue for them.
Yeah.
They even think of.
That's for sure. Like the younger generation, they don't even see all that, man. This is like a conversation for us.
Yeah, that's beautiful to see. But
we grew up in the era where the cafeteria was clicked out. You know what I mean? It was a Chinese table, a Korean table. Now it's like United Colors of Benetton. Like everyone's everywhere now. It's a buffet of people, So
I love that buffet of people. That's
buffet of people, bro. Like the melting pot has worked, and the generation like now,
internet raised generation is they think differently. Like I heard something recently where they're addicted to like ideas. They're not doing drugs.
Yeah, they don't do drugs. They're addicted to knowledge. That's the millennials right now,
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I've seen rap groups now where the rapper's Asian and the manager's black. You know what I mean? Before it was the black rapper and the Asian was the graphic designer and the camera guy. But like the roles have reversed, like because they're not looking at that. They're just saying who's nice, who's dope, you know what I mean? Like how far can we get it? The new generation, bro, like if we had that mentality back then of just like the crew, the business guy, the design guy, the camera guy, like they're looking at way beyond just like, hey, let's get girls at this party and freestyle. It's the evolution, baby. And it's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? We grew up on World Book encyclopedias. They have Google.com. We can't compete,
That's true. I mean? That is so fucking true.
Mentality,
God, what technology does to you. You're absolutely right. And I do think it's a beautiful thing that more and more people are starting to focus on skill and talent versus just, what do you look like? And I do think it's a beautiful thing. You guys are absolutely awesome. What was the name of that documentary? Your documentary on Netflix?
Oh, Bad Rap.
Bad Rap.
Yeah.
Wow. I got to watch that. I got to watch it. Is it everywhere or is it like in certain countries?
No, it's on Netflix. You can watch it.
I love it.
It's a documentary about 4 rappers. My man Rex Dizzy from Queens, Aquafina, everyone knows her, Dumbfounded, and myself.
That is badass. Okay, I'm definitely going to link it to this. When did it come out?
A couple years ago. I want to say like maybe
2017, 18.
Yeah.
Dude, congrats, man, on having that. That's a pretty cool milestone.
Thank
JL and Rick, you guys are badass. I wish I had more hours to talk to you, but I want to respect your time because you guys got stuff to do. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to be on the show and just chat about your career. It's inspiring. And I have a feeling that if you haven't already planted seeds, you will definitely be planting a shit ton of seeds in the future with other artists that want to come up and do what you do. So before I let you go, are there any projects that you've got going on, any new music you've got in the horizon, performances? I know things are starting to open up. Just give me a rundown. What do you have on the plate?
For sure. We just released our album, a full-length album called Year of the Ox. We wanted to do this triple thing. The Year of the Ox drops Year of the Ox during the Year of the Ox. You know what I mean? So if you guys haven't checked that out, it's everywhere on all streaming platforms. If you guys don't have a streaming platform, you could purchase it. You could purchase it on Amazon. But now that we're doing a follow-up, we're trying to release a couple more projects before this year's done. You know,
we've been releasing some merch. I don't know if you saw this.
I can see that. That's dope, man.
We got new merch.
I've been making beats, so we're working on songs on my beats, which is something that's new to us.
Yeah.
So expect some projects.
Expect some new music coming out soon for sure. And if you guys are ever bored, I'm on a podcast called Fun with Dumb every Tuesday. And if you guys want to check that out, it's just, we just shoot the shit. We just talk about current events, being Asian, I guess people's minority, people's ethnicity on this thing.
We also have some music videos from the album in the works as well that we're going to be pushing out soon now that it's starting to open up. So
And also every Wednesday, twitch.tv/oxgang. We do performances, freestyle, cooking, eating. It's just like a party, like a digital party if you guys want to join. Like a little behind the scenes with us, man.
That's what's up, man. You guys got a lot going on. There's so much coming out in 2021, and I love that you guys have kept yourself busy. There's so much cool shit. You guys are just getting started, I would say, because there's so much that the world still needs to see from Year of the Ox. So, JL, Rick, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yo, Nebula, it was an honor, man. Thank you. And you're a hell of an interviewer, bro. Killed that.
Oh, dude, thank you, man. That means a lot to me.